blade at his back, Cloud stepped out of his room into the night. The air was warm and welcoming, but didn't keep the slight anxiety from rising in his chest.
Relax,
he told himself. It wasn't going to be a big gathering, just a few people talking in a bar. Nothing he hadn't done before. Taking one quick look at the location shown on his phone, he committed it to memory. As he walked out of the building, the Smash Mansion, they called it, the soft lighting of Charrington swept over him and its hustle and bustle. As he walked through it, he was taken back to Walmart, but the difference became apparent rather quickly. Between the simple coloring, the smiles and laughter of the people, many fellow fighters he noticed quickly, it wasn't as hostile. He had to admit, he liked it. Nothing here demanded anything from him, but that unsettled him more than he liked to admit. In the back of his mind, he suspected at least some intentionality to all of it. He'd seen what those at Shinra did to his home after Sephiroth burned it down. Such simplicity could be faked, especially by the hands. He could feel Tifa chastise him for that, immediately jumping to the worst case scenario. She was right, of course. There was nothing to gain from becoming suspicious. It's unlikely the hands would hurt their own creations just to make something that looked good when they could just as easily pluck a happy town from any place in Param and place it there. Plus, such happiness and tranquility, it couldn't be faked. The hands weren't part of an evil corporation or anything like that, as far as he could tell. Shaking these thoughts out of his brain, he sped up his pace, turning to the left at an intersection, leading to a smaller and quieter avenue. It wouldn't do to keep Samus waiting. His mind went to her. Samus Aran, one of the strangest people he'd met, which was saying something given those he'd used to travel alongside with. When he first met her, back in the previous Smash tournament, the first thing that popped up in his mind was Shinra. Her build, her equipment, her seemingly frigid demeanor. It's as if she scanned every detail of the room and everyone in it, even when she had her helmet off. It made him think she'd fit right in as a top-ranking member of the Turks. The armor would definitely be a new development, though. But he immediately dismissed the thought when she presented herself.
You must be one of the newcomers. Cloud Strife, I take it? I am Samus Aran,
she said as she stretched out her hand. Now, Cloud himself wasn't a very socially intelligent person, but even he could tell how stiff she was.
Nice to meet you.
He responded awkwardly. The conversation didn't last much longer beyond that. It was only later that she appeared, outside of her armor and in what he could only assume was a casual outfit in front of his door. With as few words as she could, she invited him to a bar that she discovered in the outskirts of town. He didn't know what pushed him to accept the invitation of someone who was basically a stranger to him. Unexpected curiosity, a desire to make friends, not wanting to antagonize her. Whatever the case, the time there was a good one. He expected to find nothing more than chaos and loud people wearing their lungs out, all just to try and communicate over music that played at a speaker's maximum volume. The very idea gave him a headache and the desire to exit at the first opportunity. Instead, what he found was a pleasant surprise. Few customers sharing a few laughs while an instrument he couldn't place sounded in the background. Initially, he and Samus shared a few tense moments, but by the end, she just allowed him to relax without any pressure. She told him that she read about him and could tell that he was someone she could talk to. Ever since that day, they'd meet now and then, sharing a few stories, getting a few drinks, and generally having a relaxing time. Cloud arrived at the bar. Samus should already be here. She was always early. The Shining Fox's flashing hexagonal neon sign was a welcome sight. It was no seventh heaven, but nothing really was. Like so many times, he pushed open the surprisingly well-maintained wooden door. The first thing to come to his attention was the music. It added a piano to the repertoire, and someone was playing a serene tune that he didn't recognize but definitely appreciated. The meat bartender, dressed sharply as ever, looked up to the newcomer.
If it ain't Cloud, I was wondering you were gonna show up,
he said with a friendly smile.
Hey, Tap.
He saluted back with a wave.
You made some renovations,
he said, taking note of the change from simple wooden chairs and tables from the last tournament to more metallic ones. The walls were still wooden, but now had light blue cables running through them in strange patterns and giving a soft shine. Even the piano had the same style.
I've always wanted to give the place a more fitting theme to go with the name,
he said, looking proud.
What do you think?
It's fitting.
he said, not knowing what else to say. Compliments were never his strong suit.
I'm glad you're able to make it happen.
Thank you, Cloud. That means a lot. Now come on, take a seat.
He said, waving to the one next to a familiar blonde-haired woman in front of the bar, who hadn't bothered to turn around.
One shine, like always.
Cloud took a seat as Tap handed him a blue-toned drink on a coaster. Cloud took it and responded with a small nod and smile. While not Cloud's favorite, nothing could beat Tifa's livestream. He'd learned to appreciate each bar's specialty as part of their own charm, and the Shining Fox was certainly charming. Samus turned to look at him and nodded, her own drink, a pale gray one called the White Crow, her preferred choice that she rarely deviated from, in hand. He initially thought of it as rude, but had since come to understand that it was her form of a casual hello. With the initial pleasantries out of the way, Cloud deigned a sip of his shine and found it to be just as perfectly acceptable as always, tart and tangy, easier than the rock-hard malts that he had grown accustomed to in the days following Meteorfall, but left a lingering sting as if to warn inexperienced drinkers not to underestimate it. A little libation that could. He set the glass down once again and peered into the far distance. The atmosphere of the Fox gradually receded into abstraction as his mind wandered to places yet unknown. It was a risky proposition, and he damn well knew it. The only place thornier and more treacherous for him than the past was the future. Without Tifa or Barrett to keep him rooted to the present, ruminating had become a bad habit. Sherrington hid so many unknowns, from his fellow fighters to the inhabitants of the city, to what the upcoming competitions might bring. He found himself adrift amidst an ocean of possibility not unlike his first awakening in Midgar. So now, as he did then, he decided that the best thing for him to do was to keep rowing in spite of the waves. It was only after Samus spoke that he remembered where he was supposed to be.
Quiet tonight.
She said between sips.
Not much to say.
He replied. He directed a playful sneer toward her drink.
Can't believe you let Tap keep serving you that dishwater.
Best swill in town.
She punctuated the claim with a long pull of the ashen liquid.
What's on your mind, Strife?
Cloud hunched in his seat and took another draught of his shine.
Who says anything has to be on it?
Okay, fine. Don't tell me.
Samus fixed her gaze to the countertop, running her fingers along the scratches in its surface.
Why shine? You know that's Peach's usual too. Didn't take you for the girly drinks type.
Why shine indeed? He tilts the glass and looks through the remaining liquid to the bottom.
I guess because it reminds me of a signature cocktail back home.
Ah, homesick.
He scoffed.
The hell are you talking about?
Just a guess.
A pall of silence fell over the bar. Cloud took the opportunity to finish off his drink and placed it back on the counter that Tap dutifully appeared with another. He'd wait to get started on that one. He turned his head just far enough to catch Samus out of the corner of his eye.
You ever miss home?
No point in it.
She said curtly.
What do you...
Cloud immediately realized his mistake.
Oh, right.
The response was silence, but Cloud could tell. It wasn't disapproving, it was dismissive.
A home. Huh. I wonder what that must be like.
Rumbled a voice from the opposite side of the bar from Samus. Cloud leaned in and saw a new figure sitting at the bar, drink already in hand, staring at it as if it held the meaning of life. Cloud decided not to give him the satisfaction of confirming that he'd caught him by surprise.
About time you showed up, Snake.
Noticed Samus. Had she also not noticed his arrival, or was she playing along? Cloud couldn't tell. Snake didn't even bother looking up. Cloud waited for something, but the few seconds of nothing but the sound of the rest of the bar attendees doing their own thing made it clear that Snake had no intention of breaking the silence. Cloud hesitated.
Samus told me about you in the last tournament. I've been curious about what she meant.
Did she?
He responded mindlessly before knocking back his drink. A whiskey, Cloud guessed. He signaled Tap, and in a few seconds, his glass had been refilled. He stared at it as if he'd forgotten he asked for it and grumbled.
She called you a man on a mission.
Continued Cloud, pushing his anxiety back.
Like even the tournament itself was part of it.
Silence. Even Tap returned to look. Snake simply took a small swig of his drink and made a face. Tap raised an eyebrow.
So, what is your mission?
Snake made a sound that almost sounded like a chuckle, albeit one with no humor behind it.
There isn't one. Not anymore.
Snake carelessly downed his drink. Tab refilled it without another word. Samus turned slightly.
There is always a mission.
She said dryly.
There's always a use for people like you and me.
Snake shook his head.
That's what they tell you.
He said almost imperceptibly.
The world is better off without snakes.
He lifted his drink with a grimace before setting it back down.
What are you then?
Asked Cloud. He wasn't sure if it was a curiosity or if Tifa had rubbed off on him, but he wanted to keep Snake talking. For the first time, Snake turned to look at Cloud and Samus. He seemed to want to say something, anything, but no words came. He looked back at his drink, then a tap, and then finally back at Cloud and Samus. This time, he was the one met with silence. For a brief second, he looked much older, like a man in his twilight years. With a grumble, he stood up. He stumbled, almost losing his footing. Samus and Cloud quickly reacted and tried to catch him, but he put his hand up, stopping them. Cloud watched as Snake made his way out the door, hitting the corner of one of the tables along the way. After that, the rest of the night went by quietly, with neither him nor Samus being able to talk much. Whatever energy they had previously had been drained away. On his way back, Cloud couldn't help but think about Snake. He'd acted in a way that felt familiar, but he couldn't pinpoint why. It was only when he lay down in bed and allowed all his somewhat drunken thoughts to roam free that he finally made the connection. But in his stupor, Cloud had to force himself to put the pieces together to make the complete image. Shinra soldiers in Tifa's bar, the seventh heaven, drinking not out of enjoyment, but like it was their duty. With different faces and wearing different clothes, but with the same look of tired confusion on their faces. Snake carried himself in a similar manner, albeit more controlled and subdued. Cloud rolled onto one side and stared at the wall.
So, what is your mission?
The question bounced around in his head. He'd asked Snake that, he couldn't answer. The truth is, he couldn't have answered it either if the roles had been reversed. What is his mission? Shinra was gone. Sephiroth had been defeated, twice. They couldn't fuel his purpose like before. Tifa and the others, they'd given him hope for the future he never would have found on his own. But that didn't answer the question of his role in the world. But he knew he had one, as elusive as it was.
So, what is your mission?
Right now, finding it was good enough. With those thoughts in mind, he finally let the alcohol-fueled sleep overtake him. He'd worry about the hangover tomorrow.